Welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches producing big time results. On behalf of myself, Coach Gage Rozier, and co-host Coach Preston Peterson, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to today's show. Before we get to today's episode, I'd like to recognize our amazing sponsors who allow us to bring this podcast to you for free. Our first sponsor is TeamBuildr. TeamBuildr is the leading software for high schools and colleges by providing coaches the ability to write programs online, generate over 13 reports, and even train athletes remotely for side income. Right now, if you sign up with code BIGTIME, you will receive a free APRE programming template, which works automatically within TeamBuildr. No more spreadsheets and workout cards to track training maxes that change day by day. Automate your programming without outsourcing your programming with TeamBuildr. Thank you to Hewitt and staff at TeamBuildr for their continued support. They do an amazing job. Our second sponsor is Optimum Nutrition Athletics. Athletes train hard to play at the highest level, and all that hard work raises the bar on muscle recovery. Optimum Nutrition's athletics program has industry-leading products that can help. Protein is key to muscle recovery, and Gold Standard 100% Whey, the world's best-selling whey protein powder, provides 24 grams of protein that mixes easily just using a spoon and a glass. Gold Standard 100% Whey is made in Optimum Nutrition's state-of-the-art facilities in Aurora, Illinois, and is banned substance tested by Informed Choice. Through Optimum Nutrition's athletic program, you can also get Pro Gainer for big athletes looking to become even bigger, and ready-to-eat protein snacks including Protein Crisp bars, cake bites, wafers, and almonds. After dominating the sports nutrition industry for over 30 years, newly created Optimum Nutrition Athletics brings that same trust and quality that knows how to put convenient options for protein in the hands of athletes who desire to become bigger, stronger, and better at their sport. If you'd like more information and free samples, email Derek Walters, Director of Optimum Nutrition Athletics, whose email and contact information you can find in the show notes. Once again, thank you so much to our amazing sponsors for their continued support. Now, let's get to today's episode. Hey guys, welcome to episode number 55 of the Big Time Strength Podcast. Glad you're joining me here. We have a great episode with Coach James Prendergast of Hofstra University. Coach does a great job in this episode. I took a bunch from Coach here, and I think it's a great content he's bringing to us. One of the coolest things I thought I took from this episode was this is his 10th year at Hofstra and 10th year in the business. He's got to start there, doing an internship with the football team in 2009, and he's still there and he's loving it. He's made it his home there, and he's definitely making the big time where he's at. So, guys, I want to get right to this episode, but before we get there, if you're liking this episode and the content here, please like, share, leave a comment. That stuff helps us out to spread the word and helps us do this podcast a little bit better. So if you're liking it, please give it a share. But let's get right to today's episode. Coach James Prendergast. Enjoy. All right, Coach, really appreciate you coming on the Big Time Strength Podcast for today. I'm really excited about this episode. I had the chance to hear you talk at the CSCCA here a month or two ago, and was really impressed and thought you'd be a great guest for us on the Big Time Strength Podcast. So why don't you get us going here and give us a little background of where you're at right now and where you've been.
Absolutely, Coach. I really appreciate you taking the time and having me on your show. I'm really looking forward to it. So again, my name is James Prendergast. I'm actually just finishing up my 10th year at Hofstra. I actually am more of a unicorn in this profession where I've actually only been at Hofstra my entire career. And then a profession that can be nomadic is definitely a rarity. So starting off actually an undergrad at Hofstra, just exercise science, and then in my senior year, had to do an internship. So I did it with the head football strength coach back in 2008 and 2009. With my hours under Brandon Beach at Hofstra. And unfortunately, in 2009, the football program was dropped. And the head strength coach left at the time, and there was a position open, and I interviewed for the position. Found my way as an interim assistant strength coach back in 2009. And basically an interim assistant strength coach, that's more or less, I had a 6-month job interview and did a good enough job and was hired full-time in 2010, May of 2010, and worked my way up the ladder to associate head strength coach. And then in 2016, I worked my way up to the head strength and conditioning role where I'm currently still the head strength and conditioning coach. And we have 17 sports here at Hofstra. my main team responsibilities are men's basketball, men's lacrosse, volleyball, and wrestling. And then I have two assistants, Justin in Pennsylvania and Ashley Christie, and they divvy up the rest of the sports.
That's great, Coach. And yeah, like you said, that's it's kind of unique that you've been there for 10 years, and I think that's great. I think that's awesome. Is there anything that you think has been key to, climbing the ladder there that you've done that maybe you want to share that to other coaches that are trying to get that next spot where they're at right now?
The big thing, and just after being at one university for 10 years, I have had some time to reflect and kind of look back on my journey. And the big thing is just caring for your athletes, obviously, is number one. That's why we're all in this profession, is because we love making an impact. And just kind of just showing the athletes you truly care. And that's obviously how you get buy-in. And then my thing, as I've just progressively worked my way up, is just trying to have more of an impact on my university. So not just with my 4 or 6 teams that I had originally, but now trying to impact the teams that I'll never be the strength coach for, like your men's golf, your women's golf, your tennis, the teams that I won't directly work with. How can I have an impact on my department that will affect those athletes and have them have a more positive experience, whether it's a fueling station, whether it's sports performance testing, and I'll explain that a little bit more detail as we kind of progress through here. But really just trying to find your areas where you can have as much of an impact as possible, and be open-minded and being all into your university, whatever your role can be called upon. So, but yeah, that's kind of my advice, is just, you got to just work hard, put your time in, and it's definitely not there's always bumps in the road and things like that, but just keeping your head down and just working hard.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's great advice, Coach, and showing that you care and that you're just adding such a great value to that department. I'm sure has been just a huge role in you climbing the ladder there. And you've been
Absolutely.
there for 10 years, and I'm sure you've seen the program change a lot over that time. But Coach, maybe describe right now, what's your mission statement as a department, and maybe some of the core values that you really talk to your athletes about and your staff live by.
So yeah, we have 4 core principles. So it's culture, communication, character, and consistency. We base our whole department on those 4 things. Everybody preaches culture, and obviously that's an important part of it. Communication, if you don't have communication within a department, there's going to be areas where your program is going to go by the wayside. If you're not communicating with your head sport coach or your athletic trainer or somebody else in your direct kind of line of communication, you're going to have issues there. Consistency, you got to be consistent every day. You can't be hot and cold with your coaching, with your personality, with everything. You got to be consistent, and then you should have a positive character. You got to carry yourself well, and obviously you've heard the quote: "Dress for the job you want, not the job you have." Show up to meetings in khakis and dress shoes and a polo. It's because in our role, you show up to work in shorts and a t-shirt, or sweatpants and a t-shirt. Well, if you go to administration, you should throw on a pair of khakis. Look the part. You know what I mean? People will take you more seriously if you carry yourself well. And I think those 4 principles, and then again having the positive culture, that all those 4 encompass what our department is about.
Oh, those are solid. And Coach, let's dive into the culture side a little bit more. I mean, how would you describe the culture of your program right now?
Yeah, again, having a smaller staff, so it's myself and, like I said, my 2 assistants, Justin and Ashley. We preach culture like many strength coaches do. We practice what we preach. We try to show our athletes that we're not afraid to get under a bar and train. We write our own programs, and we sit down once every 12 weeks. We write our program 12 weeks out, and we sit down, get up on the whiteboard, and chalk it up and talk programming. And that's a part of our culture is really getting under the bar and practicing what we preach. And then the other thing is always caring about the athletes, whether it's going out to practice, whether it's going into the training room, checking on an athlete, shooting an athlete a text if they're a little banged up with an injury. All those things add up over time. And again, at the end of the day, if the athletes truly know that you care about them besides just the athlete or the student athlete on the field, it goes a long way.
Do you have difficulty when you write your own programs? Do you write? Sorry, I might have missed this. Do you write for yourself or for your staff members?
So we sit down as a staff and talk about like practicing what we preach. We sit down as a staff and write our own training programs ourselves. Now, As far as our teams go, I program for my teams, my assistants program for their teams.
Gotcha.
But we always chop it up and talk shop about what everybody's doing with their individual sports, in season, out of season, whatever it may be, because again, that helps everybody's kind of creative juices flowing just to see what other people are doing and things like that. So
yeah, absolutely. Coach, you talked about your staff there, so let's dive into that a little bit. How do you manage and develop and evaluate your staff there?
So now, going into my third year as the head strength and conditioning coach, I was completely transparent with my staff this year. I wanted to do a better job of delegating responsibilities because, again, when you're a new head strength coach, you feel like you have to do everything. Well, it's impossible. The reason why you have your staff members together and the reason why you have such a good culture amongst your staff, well, you have to delegate. Like everybody has strengths and weaknesses, so you play to those strengths, you play to those weaknesses, and so going into year 3, just doing a better job of delegating responsibilities because, again, it's I would love to keep my staff here forever, but if they go on to bigger and better, whatever, as a head strength coach somewhere, well, they have to have experience with budgeting. They have to have experience with just ordering, whether it's supplements, like we do core power sheets. We also do protein bars and things like that. So just managing those type of things, and you have to have experience with it. So just putting my assistants in roles to lead themselves, and they do an unbelievable job.
Do you take your staff through say it's the first day of a new staff member's, time at Hofstra?
Mm-hmm.
What are you teaching them from a year down the road? Do you have a certain type of like curriculum or something that you're going to take them through to develop them, to give them the tools they need to be that coach you want them to be?
So again, the big thing is everybody. You try to preach with your staff like I have my way of doing things. I'm just trying to show them the tools that I bring to the table, but I'm not having them, Coach Justin or Coach Ashley, try to mimic exactly what I do, but I try to educate them as best as possible. So if they do run into an issue later on, or if they run into a certain conversation, they're better well prepared for those things. But it's not so much a set curriculum because, as you know, in this field, things change so much and you kind of have to adapt on the fly sometimes, that there's not always exactly by the book. Obviously, budgeting and things like that, there's certain numbers that you have year to year, but overall, there's not a set curriculum. It's just to be themselves and just work on certain strengths and certain weaknesses if I see fit or if they see fit.
Gotcha. Do you have a certain way of how you evaluate them? I mean, do you evaluate your staff every semester or once a year, or what's your process with that?
Yes, we do it once a year.
Okay.
We, again, having a smaller staff, we meet regularly. We meet either once every week, or again, we try to train together as much as possible, and sometimes that's an informal meeting as well. But we have set meetings, minimum once a month, where we sit down and talk about anything from programming to compliance to just everything, just to make sure everything is squared away. But yeah, so that's kind of how we handle our monthly kind of meetings.
Awesome. I'm just fascinated with that side of it as a young strength coach. That's something that I'm really have pinpointed that I need to do a better job delegating myself as well. And I know I'm getting a new GA in the fall, so just thinking about ways to onboard that staff member to make it as smooth as possible. Because as you know, and I think you would agree that your culture and your department's only going to be as good as your staff. And we've had to I'm just fascinated how coaches do that. It's interesting to me.
Yeah. No, that's a big thing. Like, because you really try to hire the person, because again, you have to have credentials, you have to have your degrees and things like that. But you hire the person and how they fit within your department. So because if I'm hiring a new staff member, if one of my assistants leaves, I have to make sure I'm not the only one interviewing them. You know what I mean? If I'm hiring somebody, we're sitting down together. Myself and the other assistant would sit down with somebody else coming in for the other assistant role, and we have to make sure both of us mesh well with this new person coming in, because again, being a small staff, you have to have the culture, you have to have that relationship there. It's everybody's working together, so that's a huge piece of it. So yeah.
No, I think it's a great takeaway. Coaching another, staff's always a hurdle for a lot of coaches in a small school, but also is funding, and having money for your department. Are there any ways that you've been creative in bringing in additional revenue for your department?
Yeah, so that's definitely something I've been trying to do a better job this past couple of years. Is again, being at a smaller school, you're limited with resources, and how can you get creative and kind of build off that and show your value within the department? And I think it's cumulative, because being that I've been here for 10 years, I've tried to build relationships with people in the athletic department. So if I can help them in any way, and then if they could then on the back end help me on things that I'm maybe not so used to, like corporate sponsorships or things of that nature. We have an unbelievable athletic department here that is filled with people who are willing to help, and I really try to lean on them to help me in certain areas. So we just had a golf outing a couple of weeks ago, and we raised a good amount of money from that golf outing, just communicating with our development office and just working with some sponsors. And we had a good amount of donations for strength and conditioning through the golf outing. And then other things that we try to work on is corporate sponsorship. So if we get a corporate sponsorship for supplementation, well, now it's helping out my budget, and I don't have to tap into my budget to get the core power or the protein bars and things of that nature. So that's been huge. But again, I don't know it all, so I definitely lean on my athletic department to help me with certain things like that, certain things like that. So.
No, I think that's a simple but very important concept, and something that, again, I haven't done very well is using the rest of the college or university to help you with those things. Like I think you said, using the development office and getting them involved, and talking to people who know a lot more about those things than just
100%.
relying on selling T-shirts to your athletes or something. I think that's
exactly
important way to do it that we need to. I want to try to attack here as well that I haven't done yet. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's gold right there.
Strength coaches are quick to, and I think it's a great thing to reach out to other strength coaches to talk programming, talk department, whatever it may be. But don't be afraid to reach out to people in your own athletic department, even though they're not in the weight room every day. They may be in the development office or corporate sponsorship, things like that. But they can help you and just get help those creative juices flowing and really help supplement your budgets in different ways. So I've definitely tried to do that this past year, and it's worked out tremendously. But again, it's working with those people has been huge. So and another thing that we're actually doing this October is we're hosting a Hofstra Strength and Conditioning clinic. So my assistant Justin and Ashley are the point people on that, and I'm giving them ownership of that. So again, just another way to empower your staff members is that's one thing I've done this year is let them kind of run it and handle the speaker lineups and handle the facilities and scheduling and things like that. So that's going to be another way we supplement our budget with what we raise from that clinic as well.
Oh, that's a great idea. And are you guys bringing in outside speakers? I assume
Correct.
to do
Yes.
that. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, we're still working on the speaker lineup, but yes, that's going to be end of October.
Okay. No, that's great.
Yes.
That's a great resource, I'm sure, for a lot of the local. Do you guys have a lot of local, high school strength coaches and other small school strength coaches that would be in
Yes.
attendance to that? Good.
Correct. Yeah, because we're in the Northeast, so we're really we're throwing it out to everybody in the Northeast. And again, it's tough because it's in October, and your basketball strength coaches are going to be kind of traveling a little bit more and things like that. So we try to keep it to the Northeast because that's probably the most realistic. And again, with working with major budgets and things like that, it's a little tougher to. Everybody goes to their national teams, the NSCA with the NCCA. So a lot of the mid-major level, you have to wait for those conferences. But if we can get the Northeast where it's drivable to Hofstra on Long Island, that's what we're looking for, at least right now. So
Awesome.
starting off small and then hopefully get it bigger and bigger, and hopefully there's no ceiling for what we got.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so Coach, kind of the whole idea of this podcast is, making the big time where you're at. That famous quote that a lot of people talk about. So is there any way that you think uniquely you are making the big time where you're at there at Hofstra that you'd like to share?
Yeah, it's just, again, it being the glue that keeps everybody together and brings people together. Don't be afraid to plan a meeting with your athletic trainers, your physical therapists, your team doctors. Don't be afraid to just think outside of the box. Like, think with no limitations, and really just be an asset wherever you see fit. Because my thing is, the more you get people communicating, the better off you're going to be. So one thing we've done is sports performance testing. So basically, it's just without getting too deep into it, it's more just like an injury analysis, different mobilities for hip, ankle, and different things like that. And working with our physical therapy department, working with our athletic trainers, and also with our exercise science department, we kind of brought everybody together, and we're using it as research, but we're also using all those departments because we're only 3 staff members, myself and my 2 assistants, like I've talked about, and like 2 have interns and things like that. But it's now if you create that network and create that culture of just communication, a lot of great dialogue has come from that, and at the end of the day, it's benefiting the student athletes, which is the most important thing. And it looks great from an administrative standpoint, that it's more sports performance. It's not just strength and conditioning where you think of the old school of just running and lifting your athletes. No, it's more than that. It's nutrition. It's injury prevention. It's obviously lifting weights still. It's still conditioning, but it's more than that. And just thinking outside the box. And it's at the end of the day, it's about building relationships. So, and that's, again, I don't know it all, but I've been at one university for 10 years, and hopefully I'll be here for another 30, 40 years, whatever this great profession leads me to. But that's, at the end of the day, it's about the people and being the glue that brings people together.
I think that's a great mindset, and when you do communicate and you have like a sports performance team there, like you've talked about, it shows that you care, and that goes way back to
100%.
right how you said right out of the gate. It's about caring for your athletes, number one priority, which was awesome. And just a question off of that: are you guys, your department, are you branded as strength conditioning, or are you branded as sports performance?
We are branded as strength and conditioning, but hopefully the next time I talk to them, it may be a different title. We're working on it, so we're moving in that direction.
Okay, us here as well. So I'm just curious by that because I had the same view on that. That it's more than just getting them in here and getting them strong and running them around a little bit, making them tired. It's a lot more than that. We care much more than that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with that, and kind of going back to a question you asked earlier, just about working with your departments and inside the athletic department, we worked with a corporate sponsorship with a healthy meal prepping company, and now that has, because of that sponsorship, we're now going to have a filling station in the fall. So it's again, that wouldn't have happened if we didn't have people that are willing to help within our athletic department. So that's where it comes back to, like I said, building relationships and keeping those relationships.
Oh, that'll be huge for your athletes. I'm sure they'll be
100%. 100%. Yeah.
All right. What is your vision for your department the next 5 years? Where are you taking it?
I think that's a perfect question going into the one before. But yeah, so going towards sports performance. So rebranding the department as sports performance and having hopefully maybe a nutritionist on staff, going towards a sports psychology and just being all encompassing at the mid-major level, because you don't see a lot at the mid-major level where you have like a true sports performance team. We have all these departments here. Now we just need to brand it as sports performance, because we are doing it. And I think in the next 5 years, or even sooner than that, we will be sports performance. So
great. And that's a great recruiting tool, right? That you can say that.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, the unique part also at Hofstra is having we have an undergrad exercise science department, and it helps with obviously an undergrad here in exercise science, and then also we have a master's program in strength and conditioning, which I also did. I went through that program as well. While I was a full-time employee, I got my master's here in sports and strength and conditioning.
Awesome.
So having that department on campus and bringing them towards the athletic side of things has been a huge resource. So that being able to really put some more research out through the NSCA, through the a bunch of research going on right now, but that's a unique aspect of our program and our sports performance team that we're moving towards.
Oh, that's got to be a huge resource for you, I'm sure, for interns and everything else.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we have we've streamlined a lot of great interns throughout the years. We have some great interns on staff right now for the summer. With Mark Ellis, Elena Shore, and Clark Monia, who's actually a volunteer, and all have come through the graduate program here. So, it's a great resource for us.
Awesome. Coach, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your, I'm sure, busy summer to speak with us today. So let's wrap this thing up. I just got 4 quick questions for you, and we'll get going. Sound good?
Absolutely.
All right. What's your favorite office snack?
Office snacks, gotta be peanut butter and jelly. Gotta be peanut butter and jelly.
My guy. I'm with you.
Yep.
What's your the best coaching advice you've ever received?
The athletes don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I try to live by that every single day.
Yeah, so true. 100%. You got 15 minutes to train. You talked about working with your staff and doing the staff workouts and stuff. You only got 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Squatting. 100%. Put a bar on my back and load it up.
There you go. Solid.
Yeah.
All right, Coach, last one. Who's another small school strength coach, or 2 or 3, however you may have, that you think just does a fantastic job and deserves a shout-out?
Absolutely. We got a couple, but we have Keith Sharon at Adelphi. We have George Green at Stony Brook. We got Rob Basil at St. John's. And I'll go with that crew. Kelly Sheen at College, and that'll be my crew right now. But yeah, they do an unbelievable job. Working with similar battles that we're all kind of fighting every day, but they always put the student athlete first, and yeah, that's my plus.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Coach. Again, thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome. I've got a lot of good notes and stuff to think about from this. So I'll put your contact info in the show notes. So if any of our listeners want to reach out to you and maybe reach out to you about that clinic coming up or whatever it might be, thanks, Coach, and have a good rest of the summer.
Coach, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time, and this was great. I really had a good time.
Thanks, Coach.